So, you're a Ford owner, right? Well, there's this one error code your car can throw at you that you absolutely, positively should not ignore. We're talking about code P1783. And today, we're going to break down exactly what your car is trying to tell you. You know that feeling, right? That little pit in your stomach when you're just cruising along and then, bam, the check engine light pops on. It's like the universal symbol for a bad day. But what does it actually mean? What is it trying to tell you? And if you plug in a scanner and see the code P1783 staring back at you, well, your car is sending out a very, very specific SOS. So let's just jump right in and figure out what's going on. Okay, so the official fancy term for P1783 is a transmission over temperature condition. All that really means is your transmission is getting way too hot. And trust me, that's a big deal. Heat is basically public enemy number one for a transmission. Just as a super quick reminder for anyone who's not a gearhead, think of your transmission as the middleman. It takes all that raw power from your engine and translates it to the wheels so you can actually move and change speeds. It's kind of the whole point of the car moving. So yeah, when it's overheating, you've got a serious problem on your hands that you need to deal with like yesterday. So that leads us to the million-dollar question. Why? Why is it getting so hot? What's actually causing this P1783 code to show up? Well, it turns out there are usually 4 main culprits we need to look at. Yup, just 4. Let's go through them one by one. All right, culprit number 1, a busted transmission control module, or TCM for short. The easiest way to think about the TCM is that it's the brain of the whole operation. It's the computer making all the decisions for your transmission. And if that brain goes on the fritz, one of the first things it does is send up a flare, that check engine light on your dash. Next on our list, and this one is a biggie, is a transmission fluid leak. I mean, this fluid is literally the lifeblood of your transmission. It's not just a lubricant, it's also what keeps things cool. So if you've got a leak and that fluid level gets too low, things start to go wrong fast. You might notice your car is shifting weird, or worse, it could even slip out of gear completely. Culprit number 3 could be a failed speed sensor. Now, this is a small part, but it has a huge job. It's constantly telling the transmission's brain, the TCM, how fast everything is spinning. So what happens when that sensor starts feeding it bad information or no information at all? The TCM gets totally confused, and that confusion translates into some really rough, clunky shifts, or your car might just decide not to shift at all. And last but not least, our 4th suspect, wiring problems. You know, it's easy to forget, but your car is just a massive web of wires. If any of the wires going to the transmission get frayed, damaged, or corroded over time, it can cause a short circuit, and that messes up the communication, leading to, you guessed it, slipping gears or totally unpredictable shifting. Okay, that's a lot of technical stuff happening under the hood, but what does any of this actually feel like when you're behind the wheel? Let's switch gears and talk about the symptoms you're going to notice as a driver. And this is where it all comes together. Check this out. We can actually draw a pretty straight line from the cause to the symptom you're most likely to feel. So, if it's the TCM that's failed, the biggest symptom is just that check engine light being on. If you've got that fluid leak we talked about, you're going to feel a hesitation, a delay when it shifts. The bad speed sensor, that's what gives you those really rough, jarring shifts. And those pesky wiring issues, that's a classic cause of the transmission slipping. Okay, so let's say this all sounds familiar. You've got the P1783 code, you're feeling one of these symptoms, and you're thinking, great, now what? Well, listen up, because there is one very clear, absolutely critical next step you need to take. And look, this isn't just my opinion. This is so important that I'm going to quote the source material directly here. It says, it is highly recommended that you have a professional technician inspect your vehicle for Ford code P1783, end quote. They don't mince words, and for good reason. And this right here is exactly why that advice is so spot on. Look, this isn't like changing your own oil. First off, a pro has the specialized tools to figure out exactly what's wrong, not just guess. Second, transmissions they're just insanely complex. If you start messing with things you don't understand, you could easily make the problem worse, waste a bunch of money on parts you don't need, and end up causing even more damage. It's just not a DIY job. So at the end of the day, you have to remember that check engine light isn't just there to annoy you. It's not a suggestion. It's your car trying to talk to you. It's communicating that something important, something critical is wrong. So the real question is, what is your car trying to tell you, and are you listening?